I want to give a big shout out to Isa and to Ashley because Ashley was a person who appreciates Gordon Lightfoot as much as I do.
Gordani.
Gordani. I'm
Yes,
sorry
yeah,
to
no,
Gordon.
but Gord Lightfoot too, another Canadian classic.
No.
You got it. You're not wrong there.
I'm an American. My dad was Canadian, so.
Yeah. Woo!
But my dad was interested in the Kingston Trio, so. Anyway, I'm going to read some poems to you. Part of it is from a book that I'm getting ready to try to publish that's called The Dragon's Den. It's from my experiences back in 2014 up to now. And it's based on some personal shocking experiences about realizing my particular family heritage, the madness that I particularly experienced, and the madness that I'm experiencing right now back home in Oklahoma. But the first poem I'm going to read, because it is entitled Dragon's Den, this is a poem that's entitled The Order of the Dragon, which basically I understood that my a lot of royal Serbian families were part of the Order of the Dragon, if anybody had heard about it through Dracula, who was part of the Order of the Dragon. And I wrote it from my experience being in Zagreb and Kranj, and everybody called me Dragon, and I had any particular idea why. But I did some research and realized that if anybody understood the word zduhać is a Serbo-Croatian word for dragon man who is able to affect the weather based on his sleeping. So this is called the Order of the Dragon. Perhaps of all the dragons in our lives are princesses who are only waiting to see us once beautiful and brave. Reina Maria Maruca. The dragon stirs in his dream kingdom while his lady sleeps on black sheets of his knocked-down bed. He downs a shot of rakia, lights himself a Drina cigarette, and exhales the smoke through his nostrils, looking at the nebulous night and what light is shown from the blood moon. Weeks passed since he had his good night's rest. He bangs his bread knife on the balcony, bringing forth a fog that engulfs the city in its wake. He remembers the Slovenian sky was gloomy like this as he was reeling on a hospital bed. The sharp pains pierced his stomach's right side. He slipped into a death-like trance as the IV dripped steroids with no traces of sulfur. There were Klinsky breathing in their chairs in the ER. Their hearts and minds are filled with malicious emotions and bloody thoughts of driving a stick into his deadened and defenseless body, or moving it somewhere where his soul had been departed. Legend has it he would die when his soul could not find it in return. Resurrected from his death throes, the clouds parted and the sun was shown at last above the vampire hunters' heads, hanging low in disbelief. That was when he discovered that dragons were real, and he was one of them. Born with a king-sized skull and a wolf's paw, he was destined to be feared and loathed by many, including the witches in Zagreb, who cast their curses with their auburn hair and black dresses. Even the orderly at the hospital jibed him in the elevator as he was escorted to the lavatory for a urine test. Crooning Old Man River to lighten the loader's spirits as he was doing his deed did nothing as the friend opened the door of the exit stall and spoke daggers at him, branding him a monster. To this day, he sometimes deliberates whether dragons are monsters. And never has this dragon harmed a damsel in distress or a puppet that is the apple of an angel's eye. His immaculate breath brings death to any fiend that puts all God's children through hell. His words can incinerate the hypocrite or purify the martyr with pure blue fire. A cock of the walk at times, a dark horse at others, the dragon roams the streets, growling and breathing cigarette smoke and roaring maniacal laughter at the nonchalant cavaliers trying to take a stab at this is mine. He sees the evil of his time and throws light upon the dirty games being played in the shadows and making expiation for whatever part he has in them. It is a far better thing that he has ever done. It is a far, far better rest he has ever known. His life has been a flywheel effect of the water from the devil's baptism than wine for the Messiah's mirth. Quid est Diu vivere, nisi Diu doceri. With so much glowing passion, the cross he bears hotter from blue blood than white heat, till they scorch the nearest and dearest enemies. Cauterize his black and blue dolor, rekindle the light of love, the flesh of his flesh, and the bone of his own that tames the beast within, nipping at his tail, while influencing the arches of heaven by his art.